Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Tiranno, and today I'm going to be doing my week 36 recap. This was a special week because it was my birthday week, as you saw from the thumbnail of this video. So I actually, instead of watching movies that I would love to see, I ended up watching just a lot of bad documentaries. I have a documentary problem, and I know I've been getting some tweets. People are saying, Jake, watch more than documentaries. Try to watch some other stuff, because I really do kind of always shift to documentaries. And I'm trying to shake that, so hopefully next week it won't be the case. And my good friend, Mr. Josh Bell, wrote me, and he was like, Jake, you're watching some really bad documentaries. Let me recommend you some. So I'll be watching some better documentaries, hopefully, because this week was just filled with not so good ones. But I'm going to give you the day-to-day update, starting with day 246, which was on September 5th, my birthday. So let's hop right into it. I watched the film Man Up on my birthday, and that was 2015. Stars Lake Bell and Simon Pegg. And Man Up, I thought, was a wonderful, refreshing romantic comedy that will make you smile the entire time. I mean, I'm a big fan of Simon Pegg. From what I've seen from Lake Bell, I enjoy her. But I mean, their chemistry in this movie is fantastic. They both are really, really good. And it does offer some really solid moments from Pegg. A really, really good emotional scene in this movie. And it really kind of gives you a diverse look at Pegg. Pegg never really plays his performance all comedic. He usually does throw emotion in there. In particular, in this moment, he's really good, but he cannot manage to steal the show from Lake Bell, who is just hilarious in this movie. It's funny, it's witty, and charming, and even though it is at times utterly ridiculous, Man Up is overall a really good time. Day 247 of the 365-day challenge, I watched the new film from director Clint Eastwood called Sully. Now, Sully is a movie that I reviewed. You could check out my full review by clicking that white eye. A bunch of links will drop down. You'll be able to see my written review of Sully, as well as my video review of Sully. I liked this movie for the most part. However, this was a movie that I thought could have been so much better than what we received. And I think part of that is because we focused on the aftermath of the Miracle on the Hudson incident. Even though the incident is actually shown twice in the movie, instead of like a full retelling, not a kind of clipped together retelling, we get this aftermath of Sully having nightmares and the National Board of National Board of Transportation Safety decided to investigate them because they believed that the plane could go back to LaGuardia instead of landing in the Hudson. And I think those things were kind of distracting because they never really come to full circle. Yes, we see the end of the investigation at the end of the film, but in the middle, it kind of falls in the background. I think that was an issue I had. But to hear more about how I feel about Sully, make sure to click that white eye. A good film, but not great. On day 248 of the 365-day movie challenge, I watched the 2011 documentary Make Believe. Now, Make Believe is a really touching film about the wonderful art of magic. And it's about the young men and women, teens actually, who are trying to master the craft. Now, if you don't know, I'm a huge magic fan. I've loved magic since I was a kid. I think it is a wonderful, wonderful art that is sometimes really unappreciated. However, shows like Magic's Got Talent and the few performers still around really do keep it pretty current. But I will say it still kind of sits over here while main mediums happen here. But I would recommend this film because I found it to be really touching and, a really, really nice tribute to the art that I love. And so many people really do love and love watching. It isn't a film that is very advanced technically or, on like a level of being a wonderful documentary achievement. But it's a movie that has heart and it makes it stand out. It's inspirational and most of all, like filled with hope. You have these teens who are aspiring to be great and watching these kids from all over the world get the chance of becoming this important, winning this contest that takes place here in Las Vegas. It's really interesting, and then you get to the more we learn about these kids. It focuses on I think 6 kids in particular. We see how these teens are using magic to not only for entertainment or to show, but really use magic to find themselves. And I think that's why it's really touching. It does feel a bit long. even at 90 minutes. However, after the film, it's hard not to appreciate these young adults chase their dreams and aspirations. It's really, really a wonderful sight to see these people chasing what they believe in. Day 249 of the 365-day movie challenge, I watched the 2010 documentary Jedi Junkies. Jedi Junkies, like Ghost Head and Legends of the Night, is a documentary about loyal fans who were inspired by art. In this case, that art is Star Wars. However, Jedi Junkies never really reaches this emotional level that's displayed in the other docs that I mentioned. Like Legends of the Night really hits home. Ghost Head, so there's a really emotional level to it. Not as good as Legends of the Night, but still good. But Jedi Junkies is actually quite boring and really failed to keep my attention after the opening 15 minutes. And I think what's the problem with Jedi Junkies is that Jedi Junkies isn't about Star Wars fans. It is, but it's about that outer rim of Star Wars fans, the people who are into a lot of other really obscure things. As big as Star Wars is, you would think that there was a really, really wonderful documentary about the dedication of Star Wars fans. And this one just doesn't feel like it. This one feels like a knockoff side project that someone just kind of wanted to make about Star Wars. And it doesn't feel like they gathered the biggest fans. Well, I shouldn't say the biggest fans, but they're just more into different things. And they are the people that go to the convention. They are the people that watch the movie 100 times. They're the ones that collect the toys. But they don't feel like... the whole movie just doesn't feel like it has the presence it should, especially with how big Star Wars is. I think that there's a lot of filmmakers who could tackle this project and talk to a lot of people who are big enough to really talk about their love of Star Wars. And this movie, I think some people will find interesting, especially Star Wars fanatics, but this 75-minute movie feels way too long. Day 250 of the 365-day movie challenge, I watched the 2005 family film Bob the Butler. I want to quickly thank Kevin, my good friend Kevin, who I talked about last week. It was actually Kevin Week last week. If you haven't seen that, make sure to click that white eye. He sent me this movie for my birthday along with The Paper Brigade, which is awesome. Even though there is some stuff cut out of the Gunther and The Paper Brigade, as the DVD is called, it was still great revisiting that. But Bob the Butler isn't a bad movie. It's a movie that is a mixture of family classics, like Uncle Buck and Mrs. Doubtfire even reminded me of The Toy. There's a lot of toy references. Only it's just not as memorable or funny as those classics. But I don't think it's bad. It has heart, and it does try to please all ages. And it's just that not all the jokes land. Some jokes are really lowbrow, kind of toilet humor. Other is actually quite funny and silly and has that family spirit. But it does give a sincere performance from Tom Green. And that is what really amazed me about this movie. Tom Green is usually very crude and very crass, and I've never really been a fan of him. I do not like Freddy Got Fingered, for example. But I found him to be very funny and actually kind of charming in this movie. Like I said, I don't think it has really inconsistent characters or, a great story, even that many great jokes. But I think it's still above mediocre and a great family film. Shouldn't say great. Probably a good family film. On day 251 of the 365-day movie challenge, I watched a documentary. Now, this is after Josh Bell, my good friend from Las Vegas Weekly, wrote me. He's like, Jake, stop watching crap documentaries, which, as I've mentioned, I've watched a few. And he's like, let me give you a list. And the first one on his list is Ballet 422, which is the movie that I watched, a 2014 documentary. And I was like, huh. And I watched this movie, and it gives you an incredibly intimate look at the level of dance and the ballet at a professional level, and it's stunning. I was just like, I thought there was going to be a lot of conflict or something that gone wrong or gone awry, and it's not. It's really just about watching this ballet come to life from practice from concept to practice. It really brings this production's evolution all the way to full performance, and it's actually pretty, like I said, breathtaking. It's stunning. I've never really watched ballet in person. This was kind of my first intimate experience with ballet, I would say. And I was blown away at just how technical and how much memory is needed. In a play, you remember, I'm not downgrading plays now, but I'm just saying, in a play, you memorize your lines and ways to perform, but these people have to remember ballet. Ballerinas, or I don't know if you call men ballerinas, I don't know, and I don't mean that to be funny, I really don't know, but these dancers have to memorize every footstep they take, and it's pretty amazing. And at first, like I said, I thought things were going to go wrong. I thought there was going to be a problem, but this is just not that type of movie. It's just a movie that wants to give you this quick, insightful look into a world that you don't really get to see. There's no narration or interviews, and there's barely any dialogue. It's just you sit there and watch the show come together. And I really have to respect that because it was like really powerful. Now, I do think the movie doesn't have a message, right, or a theme or anything. It just wants us to kind of take a look at something that we aren't very familiar with. Or if you are very familiar with, I'm not, and for me it was a very good experience, but maybe if you are in the world of professional dance or ballet, maybe it won't blow you away like it touched me. Maybe it'll just be boring. Like, I do that every day. I mean, I know this is at like the top of the level of professional dances, so maybe it will blow you away. But, I mean, the breathtaking moments of just watching these people learn. I mean, even like the practices where he'll correct someone and they quickly get it, and then you just watch it all. You watch them and they're like, oh, that's kind of awkward. And then they do it and you're like, wow, like, that's amazing. I think it was a solid documentary. I continued Josh's recommendation with The Queen of Versailles, which is a 2012 documentary that I loved. I mean, this was a really good movie, and it's a fascinating movie that gives viewers, again, an inside look into a world most of us will never experience, and that's what it's like to be at the top 1%. You know, 99% of us are down here, and this is the top 1%. We actually get to be a fly on the wall in the home of the billionaire family of David and Jackie Siegel. And this movie was surprisingly funny, but also quite sad. Reading the synopsis of this movie and looking it over, I was like, is this movie just to kind of mock these people who want to build the biggest home in America? That's what it's kind of about. It actually revolves around this family, the Siegel families, who own what I believe they say in the documentary is the largest timeshare company in the world, building the biggest house in America, 990,000 square feet or 900,000 square feet. It was really big, biggest home in America. And you're just like, how can I, you're just like, I'm just going to, like, these materialistic people, and you're just kind of already kind of throwing those judgments out, even before the movie starts. Maybe you won't, but I did. I have to be honest with that. I was just like, God, like, I want to watch someone really just want to build the biggest house in America for their family, even though they do have a big family, but still. And it's a riches to rags story, actually. It addresses the financial crisis in 2008, and everything in this family's life changes. Sort of changes. It's really intriguing. What intrigued me the most about this movie is because I think some people looked at that, and I was telling people what I was watching and talking to some people, and they couldn't sympathize with these billionaires dealing with financial struggle. They lived the life, and granted, from what we see, their life doesn't get that bad, right? Like, it's not like they're living on the street, but they're gotta come back. She has to shop at Walmart now, even though she fills her SUVs or many SUVs with stuff. But you could tell this is a family going through a struggle, and I sympathize with them. And I think that is really interesting because at first I was so like, how can I connect to these characters? Because I'm not like, I shouldn't say that. It's not that I like them, because movies have obviously made us connect with people we're not like all over the world, but just the moment you hear the billionaire family building the biggest house in America, I think there's just something that clicks in our head that just kind of judge. And I actually really, loved the character of Jackie. And I say character, and that's funny, is Jackie Siegel is a real person, but she is so interesting. She's like a character. Jackie steals the show, and at first we scoff at her. She's funny, and she's talking. She's going into her new house, the biggest house in America. It's not built yet, but she's going through kind of like the framework. And someone's like, oh, is that your master bedroom? She's like, no, that's my closet. Things like that. And she's funny, but you could tell that she's not snobby. She's not mean. And the more we spend time with her, the more we learn that she's actually kind of a kind-hearted person. I found her really kind and likable. And I think she really is what makes this movie work, because spending time with David Siegel, you're like, oh, this guy's kind of, and, this is completely different. She is just a person that you could really feel for and sympathize with. And I think it makes the documentary really, really work. That's on Netflix. You can check that out. And that is probably going to be, my favorite movie of the week. That was a really good movie. The Queen of Versailles, the 2008 documentary. Make sure to go check it out. Like I said, it's on Netflix. Mr. Josh Bell, thank you so much for recommending these documentaries for me. There are more, but I'm not going to watch them all in a row. I'm going to try to split them up. But make sure to tune in next week, as I do my week 37. My dog's getting riled up. update for my 365-day movie challenge. Make sure to never miss a video by hitting that subscribe button. You can see my Sully review, my week 35 update, and much more by clicking that white eye. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any recommendations in the comment sections below. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacob Tiranno, and please continue chasing.